Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's your boy, this Innovation Boss KTA. Um, Want to come on here talk about the men's 2024 Olympic team real fast. Um, just jump into Cooper Flag right before that. I feel like Cooper Flag is that. If you don't know who Cooper Flag is, he was the number one player in high school last year. He's originally from Maine. Um, He played at Montverde. Montverde had Cade Cunningham, um, Moses Moody, Ben Simmons, um, who else? Scotty Barnes. Uh, who else played at Montverde? Um, D'Angelo Russell, the old coach from St. Patrick's High School, which is now the Patrick School in New Jersey. Um, Kevin Boyle. Yeah. So Cooper Flag, he got a lot of buzz. He was already known within the basketball world, but he got a lot of buzz when the select team which he played for played against the United States team. Um, and that team at Mount Bird was the number one team in the nation. They generally are the number one team. They've been on top for a while, and it's been he's been playing well. In the comment section, let me know if you seen anything on Cooper Flag. Um, Cooper Flag, as far as his style, he's a he's about 6'8". He's a wing. Um, he's a 6'8" wing. He's got a little bit of Paul George in him. Good athlete. Um, a lot of people are calling him Andre Karolinko. If you remember the early 2000s, Andre Karolinko was a one of the better defensive players. He was an all-star with the Utah Jazz. Around the time, I want to say it was him, Darren Williams, Carlos Boozer, that era of the Utah Jazz, early 2000s. Um, Jerry Sloan, I believe, might have been the coach. So Cooper Flag gets a lot of those Andre Karolinko comparisons. Andre Karolinko was, I believe, he was originally from Russia, um, and he's a big name player. He's going to Duke next year. Duke had the number one recruiting class in the nation, which is expect which is possible. It's Duke, right? Um, and Cooper Flag played well in the select game for the United States. So it was a big deal. And maybe I should have titled the video differently, but don't worry, I'll change it in the. I'll change it. Some of y'all are probably trying to see the game. I probably should have titled the video differently. Um, I'm not showing the game. I'm just talking about the 2024 team. But if you want to hear about that, you're definitely welcome to stay. Um, Probably one of the best teams that the United States has put together. There was a little bit of controversy about the Kawhi Leonard situation, and I know there was some back and forth. Jalen Brown wasn't happy about that. Obviously, Jalen Brown was Eastern Conference Finals MVP, was um, NBA Finals MVP, and he's not a Nike guy, which Derek White is. And not to get messy or anything like that, we're not really going to do that. But from what I understand, Derek White was already tapped to be the replacement for Kawhi. So it wasn't that Nike chose Derek White over Kawhi, from what I understand. Derek White was going to be the replacement for Kawhi no matter what. So it wasn't like a matter of, like I'm sure the Nike thing may have had something to do with it, but I don't think he was selected over Kawhi because he was on Nike. If anybody else has any insight or if anybody else has any opinions on the Jalen Brown situation with Team USA, let me know. But as far as I understand, Derek White was already selected to be on Team USA if Kawhi didn't, if the Kawhi situation went left, right? And I disagree with the Kawhi situation. I think they should have let him play. I think they should have let him rock because, but different people's have different opinions on some of the things when it comes to Kawhi, which is fine. But I think they should have let him play. Kawhi is one of the best players of his generation. Kawhi can add perimeter defense when he's healthy, and we all know when it's a big game, Kawhi Leonard. Honestly, to me, he's the best there is in the NBA when there is a game that matters. Him and Jimmy Butler. People may have different opinions on that, but I've never really seen Kawhi Leonard fall. I've seen him have rough games, but when it matters, many times Kawhi Leonard has been great. And you could look at the story arc of his career. That year when they lost, when the Clippers made it to the conference finals for the first time ever, Kawhi Leonard was on a tear. And speaking of tear, he tore something in his knee. I don't know if it was ACL or MCL, right? But um, when he tore that, that was the year where Phoenix made it to the NBA Finals. If he doesn't hurt his knee in that conference in that in the playoffs against Utah that year, they might have been able to win the championship. Not to say that Milwaukee's not good, but I'm saying they might have been able to win the championship. Now back to the Team USA. I feel like the team is a well-rounded team. You have perimeter shooting with Steph Curry, arguably the greatest shooter of all time. I think there's a rookie who might be able to really do some things. The shooting is really good. I might get into some of the rookies at a later time. Not today, but if you have any thoughts on Team USA, throw them in the chat. They've had some close games, but I'll analyze that later. Mr. Least, what up? What up? What up, Mr. Least? How you doing? What you think about Team USA? I think they got a balanced roster. I think they got shooting with Steph. They got shooting with Devin Booker. They got the perimeter defense with Drew Holiday and Derek White, which are two first team all defensive guys. Two guys that can guard point guards and they're bigger point guards at about 6'4". Go USA. Heck yeah. I think this USA team is really good. And I was even just looking at it earlier. If Kawhi had stayed on a team, it would be the second time ever that every player was an All Star. But that's okay. I mean, the thing about Team USA basketball is it's important to have a complete team. So they have the they have the shooters with Booker and Curry. They have the perimeter defenders with Holiday and Derek White, and then they have those rim protectors inside with Bam Adebayo, or as we would say as Nigerians, Adebayo, Bam Adebayo, and they also have um, they also have um, Anthony Davis, who has shown some good defense. I believe he was really good in the game against Serbia. If you watch that game or any of the games, let me know your thoughts. Anthony Davis, to me, is one of the greatest defenders of his generation. Like I honestly, I think him and Drew Holiday, the fact that Drew Holiday, just go look at Drew Holiday's career. The man has made two All Star teams. He's honestly the most underrated player of his generation of this time right now. I don't think he gets the respect that he really deserves for the career that he's had. But I think with that title, it puts him in Hall of Fame status, as I've said in a previous video. You can go back and watch some of the Boston Celtics takes that I've done. There's a few videos on those. Um, yeah, and then also uh you have another underrated player defensively in Anthony Davis. I mean, Anthony Davis has never won a Defensive Player of the Year, and honestly, I feel like in some ways he gets penalized because of how great he is. He's a dominant offensive player, but he's finished top two in Defensive Player of the Year multiple times. So I think he's just been underrated on the defensive side of the ball. I mean, another guy historically has been Tim Duncan, Tim Duncan. If you look at it in defensive win shares, he's number two all time. Number two all time to the number one all time in Bill Russell. So I think it's always been tough to really analyze defensive players, but if you really look at the career that Anthony Davis has had, he's been great. I mean, obviously you got LeBron, you got he's on the tail end. Kevin Durant is on the tail end, so they want to send those guys. Steph Curry out with a bang. And those are the three greatest players of this generation, along with Giannis, uh, Jokic, Jokic, and Kawhi. Um, those three are the guys that kind of define this generation. And you got three of them. You got two of them left actually, because you got KD, Bron, and what's up, betted by Zoe? How you doing? How you doing? What you think about Team USA? They betted by Zoe. Beat it. Bet. Well, what's going on? What you think of Team USA? What you think of Team USA? I think this is one of the stronger rosters they've had, and it's a complete roster. I think with that USA basketball, you need a complete roster. You can't just throw a bunch of really good players on there. I haven't even mentioned Tyrese Halliburton, who's also a really good defender, and he's probably led the league in assists for the past 2 years, past two seasons. So I think he's a really good player. Um, It's interesting though. It's interesting. They've gotten tested by South Sudan. They've gotten tested by um who is it today? Germany. Those weren't really the teams like coming into it. Those weren't the teams that I would expect to really challenge Team USA. Right? The teams that I would expect to challenge Team USA would be um, Canada, um, Serbia. I think that's where Jokic is from, I believe, and France. Right? Um, it de- it depends. It depends on Victor though. It depends on Victor. I don't. I for France's sake, if we're talking about France, I think for them to be at their best, I think they really got to let Evan Fournier. They got to let him do his thing. I think he's probably the best scorer they have, the best guy, the best at creating his own shot off the dribble. So I think they got to let him roll. Um, Serbia, Jokic, arguably the best player in the game. Greece, Giannis, arguably the best player in the game. Those are probably two best players in the game. So those guys are always threats. Jose Alvarado. Um, he was playing lights out in the FIBA tournament. He was lights out. So, but the USA got some guys who can defend on the perimeter, as we mentioned, the three guards. So that's a guy where you really want to lock in and hope for Jose. He wants to have a big tournament for Puerto Rico. Another threat to the United States would be we mentioned Canada. Canada is the most loaded team, and you got to think they don't have Benedict Mathurin of the Indiana Pacers, and they don't have Andrew Wiggins, right? I didn't understand how they made that work. I don't understand how Golden State made that work where they didn't allow Wiggins to play, but it is what it is. But even without Wiggins, I still think they're probably the greatest threat to the USA. But the USA handled them pretty well. I mean, you have Dylan Brooks, who's one of the best defenders in the NBA, and he's always trying to get in people's heads. Um, you got R.J. Barrett back at home with the Raptors, home city, hometown. You got who else? Who else you got? You got uh you got Andrew Nemhart, um good 6'4" point guard for Indiana as well. Gonzaga, I think he played at Florida first. Somebody, if there's anybody in the chat, you could check that and verify that for me. Nemhart. They got who's the big man? You got the big man with the long hair. He used to play for Boston. They got who else? Um, they got Dort. They got Dort, Lee Dort. They got yeah. I mean, they got NBA players coming off the bench, so that is a big time squad. And obviously, their best player, they're being led by SGA, Shea Gilgis Alexander, and he's top five player in the NBA, definitely a top 10, finished in top two in MVP voting. So I think USA has a good shot. It's the last hurrah for some of these great guys of this generation. I don't think they're going to get another Olympics. I'm very happy to see Steph Curry in the Olympics. I think the world has really stepped up, and it's going to make these games interesting, exciting. Not so they're like one-way blowouts. I think there's other teams that have good teams. I think if you're not from the United States, I don't know where you're from. If you're from Canada, shout out to Canada. Toronto is one of my favorite cities. Like it in Canada for sure. Um, Shout out to South Sudan for really playing well. Some of those guys, Wayne Gabriel, some of those guys, Clark from Louisville, all those guys, some NBA teams, man. If you're watching this or any NBA teams, give those guys some of those South Sudanese, give those guys an opportunity, give them a look, bring them into training camp or something. Uh, you know, give those guys an opportunity to really play, and yeah, maybe just to touch on some of the free agency moves before I head out. Some of the bigger free agency moves. Some of the free agency moves. Isaiah Hartenstein got himself a nice deal after playing well for the Knicks. Um, Paul George, the biggest free agency move, went to Philadelphia. Philadelphia is a tough city. I don't know if anybody in here is from Philadelphia. I don't know. If you're from Philadelphia, let me know in the chat. I've lived in Philadelphia for a few years. It's a tough city. If you're winning, it's good, but it's a tough city. But they have a very good chance to win. Joel Embiid, I didn't even mention him, probably the most gifted scorer as a big man in the league right now, and one of the most gifted offensive players as a big man the game has ever seen. As long as he's healthy, he's good. Defensively, that's another thing as well. He can add on the defensive end. Joel Embiid is he's a Kansas guy, Kansas legend from the Cameroon. Um, Philadelphia's got a good team. They got Tyrese Maxey. Um, yeah, they have a shot at taking it all. The East is going to be tough this year. Um, Let me know in the chat if there's any free agency moves that let me know in this video if there's any free agency moves that you've liked. Um, yeah, I really feel like it was an interesting summer. The NBA always has interesting summers. Obviously, Bronny James was drafted. Um, there was some good rookies. We can get into the rookie thing probably in a on a later video. But definitely good good off season for the NBA. And if you liked any of the off season moves, let me know in the chat or in the comment section. Thanks. God bless. In Jesus' name. Have a good day.